Hello and welcome to No Rest for the Weekend live. It's Sunday night. I'm joined by our man in Hollywood, Mr. Bill Hammond. Welcome, Bill.
Hey, hey.
We're going to be talking about the Best Picture nominees for this year's Academy Awards, and we have some that we didn't cover yet on the show. So I wanted to invite Bill in because he does such extensive Oscar content on actually paid on I actually paid to see this on YouTube, and his blog actually it's actually paid.com.
Yes.
And he does like a lot. He's done like live blogs, and he goes into every category. So he is the guy that you want to talk to when it comes to this stuff. How you been, man?
Someone say I have a problem, but but yeah, this is my March Madness. I got the tuxedo tee out of storage. I did my category draw and mapped out my coverage calendar yesterday. So like, yeah, I'm ready to go. This is the most exciting time of the year for me. I don't know why. I'm never gonna win an Oscar. I'm never gonna be nominated. I may never even make a film, but since I was a kid, like it was just like the biggest thing in the world to me. I don't know why. Maybe it was watching Jack Nicholson give his epic speeches or whatever. Like I don't know. It's just always been that for me. So every year I get that itch, and every year it becomes an even more intensive labor of love each time around.
So we have 10 films this year.
Yep.
This has become the new norm to have 10. It used to be five, and now it's 10. Um, what do you think of the overall crop of films?
This year it's very top heavy. Like we've kind of known for a while that it's basically a two-horse race between Sinners and One Battle After Another. But so many other films, like a lot of the films on this list, they're great as well. It's just there's so much separation between the top two and everyone else that's up for Best Picture and everything else below it. Because like the banner headline was that Sinners got nominated 16 times, which is the new record now, and it'll probably never be broken because literally it's up in every eligible category except Best Actress, which is insane. But One Battle After Another has 13 nominations, which was the old record, a three-way tie between All About Eve, Titanic, and La La Land. So it's like it's not that much of a whole statement of, oh, this is clearly going to be the winner. Even below those two, you have three films with nine nominations each, and then Hamnet just below that with eight. Like there have been a couple of times in recent years where you've seen a Best Picture nominee like Women Talking or Nickel Boys, where it's only up for Best Picture and its screenplay. Like everything here has at least, I believe, four nominations, which is what you would expect from the category of Best Picture. Like for me, when I break it down on my channel, it's not just me saying what my favorite movie is. It's okay, how do these films compare to each other as far as the acting is concerned, the directing, the writing, the technical elements, the artistic elements, and then, yes, my personal opinions. So there's been several years where the film that I like the best didn't necessarily come out number one on my rankings. I always see Best Picture because it goes to the producers of the film. We're awarding the best overall production. So everything has to be taken into account. Um, that said, I would actually love it if the Academy did go back to five films. They expanded it after 2008 because the Best Picture field that year, Slumdog Millionaire won on the back of a very shady Weinstein campaign. And then the other nominees you're talking like Frost Nixon, The Reader, Milk, Benjamin Button. Good films. I'm not gonna say they're terrible, but they paled in comparison to the likes of The Dark Knight and The Wrestler and Wall-E, which were left off. Like that backlash is what got us to expand the field. But the real message was you can keep it at five, just nominate the right five. Don't listen to campaigners and for your consideration ads. Actually watch the films and nominate the best ones. Not hard.
Well, that's kind of the thing, isn't it? Because I've heard people say that winning a film award or winning an Oscar is more like winning an election than, a contest, because it's I mean, it's based on a lot of factors, but I've always thought that they should give the publicist the award. Yeah. That's who's doing all the work.
There are some times where yeah, that's the case. I mean, I don't think we've had an air quotes undeserving Best Picture winner since Green Book, which was like 5, 6 years ago. Um, like that one was kind of egregious. Again, not a bad film, but one that is so clearly devoted to whitewashing race relations in the same year where you have Spike Lee putting out, uh, great films. You have so many good films from like minority directors and screenwriters and actors that basically just get token prizes. And the one where one of the Farrelly brothers says that a white guy can drive a black guy this time. It's a reverse driving Miss Daisy. So all racism has ended. Like that. Yeah, in those situations, it's bad. I mean, I harp against Diane Warren getting nominated for original song every year because clearly she either is the entire music branch or she has dirt on them. And it's not to say that her music isn't good. I've liked some of the songs that have been nominated over the years, but the fact that it seems like a spot is reserved for her every year, even though she basically writes what is in effect the same song. They're all in the same key, they're all in the same tempo. They're all about being inspirational and saying how great you are, even in the face of adversity. I was like, you just put different lyrics in a title on it. It's the same song. So why is it being nominated every year for original song to the point where entire films are made out of whole cloth just to commission her to write a song for the credits and get nominated? That yeah, those situations, that kind of shenanigans, I don't care for. But it is getting better. I will say that. Like there are flaws, but it is getting better. Last year the big disaster was Amelia Perez just getting getting swept up in and leading with the most nominations because critics at Cannes loved it, and it's like, oh, you have a trans person, but that trans person has insulted so many people, and the movie itself, where the director admits he did no research about how Mexico actually works, it was insulting to Mexicans, to the trans community, to so many other people. And eventually we got the justice. Like, yeah, it got nominated for pretty much everything. It only won for Zoe Saldana and one of the songs, and it even lost international feature to Brazil. So it's like eventually justice was done.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's an interesting crop of films this year. I don't feel like any of them are insulting or anything, and we do have a couple of foreign films nominated. But I want to get into it. Our first film that I want to talk about, and I'm just doing these in alphabetical order because what else is fair?
Mhm.
F1 the movie, which is now streaming on Apple TV. It's about a Formula One driver who's played by Brad Pitt, and it's sort of to me, it was like, it's a bit of Days of Thunder, and I also saw a lot of like Bull Durham in it because he's mentoring this younger guy, and he's this sort of loner who goes from race team to race team. It's I will say that I really liked the film technically. The racing stuff is awesome. The camera work is fantastic. I learned a lot about the rigs that they built for this and the different apparatus that they had to use to get this stuff to film the racing. And I thought it looked just tremendous. I thought it was like really, really tight in terms of the action, but the rest of the movie is like every time there was a dialogue scene, every time there was like drama, it just kind of felt forced, and good actors didn't sound good saying this dialogue. It felt like, I don't know, there's a speech where Brad Pitt has this "Why I Race" speech, and I swear, I was like, does someone have a gun to his family? Like, what is like? Well, is he being forced to say this dialogue? I mean, there's a bit with Javier Bardem, who's a really good actor, who says, "It's the worst feeling in the world." And I'm like, you don't need to say that. You're Javier Bardem. Oh, we could see it on your face. Like, I don't need to hear that line. There were so many, every time it was like, ooh, you're just kind of like, I was like wincing. Um, and then they would get back on the racetrack, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. I'm digging this, and I'm coming from perspective. I am not a car guy. Like you live in LA where you have to drive. I've lived in New York for a really long time. I haven't owned a car in 25 years. I can still drive. I still have a license, but I haven't owned a car in 25 years. I don't care about cars. I don't care about racing. To me, it's not a very exciting sport, but they made it exciting and it was so cool. And the movie also looks like $1 trillion. Like it's an Apple TV joint, and you can tell, man, they spent all the money on this thing. And it took them, I think they made them, it took them like because they follow the racing circuit and they got all of these real shots with like real racing people and real fans, like it took them 18 months to make this movie because they were going around the racing circuit, which I also thought was a little bit gratuitous because like we don't need to see every race. Like there was a lot of montaging in it. There was like a lot of Rocky sports montage and stuff in it, but we don't need to see all of them. We don't, I mean, but again, it's kind of a commercial for Formula One racing, so they wanted to show all of the things, and it does at times feel like a 2.5 hour commercial, which is my other sort of beef with the film is that it's 2.5 hours long, and it's way too long for that type of movie. But overall, I didn't think it was horrible. Uh, Best Picture? I don't know. I don't know. What did you think of it?
Okay, so yeah, to address a couple of your points there, yeah, Brad Pitt wasn't forced to say those lines. He was paid $30 million to say those lines. The reported budget for the film was 300 million, though Sony kind of backtracked and said, well, with rebates it's only 200 million. It's like it's still more than any of us could ever spend in a lifetime. And yeah, because it's a co-production with Apple, like it's not just a commercial for F1. I mean, literally, like I have a digital copy because I don't have Apple TV, so I had to buy it on YouTube. And they have like the little registered trademark circle next to F1 in the title. It's like yes, it's clearly a commercial, and it's not just a commercial for F1, it's a commercial for anyone who paid for a sponsorship. I mean, there's a scene where they're in Vegas and Brad Pitt like reads a note conveniently walking over to the window so you can see the big Win logo on the facade of the building. Being an Apple production, yes, they created all these rigs similar to the camera rigs they put on the planes in Top Gun Maverick, but they made them smaller and more compatible with iPhones. Gee, um, it to me this is a bad movie. Like it's every year we get at least one film in the Best Picture race in this expanded field that has no business being there. This is the one for this year. It is well made, but I care more than anything about character and plot. I want you to tell a good story. And if you can't tell a good story, I don't care how well you tell a bad story. Yes, there are some really cool production elements. If you see the behind the scenes articles about the big, second act crash that nearly kills Damson Idris's character, it's like the the logistics that went into that are freaking amazing. I'm not gonna fault that for a second. There's a reason it's nominated for visual effects in addition to Best Picture. The other two are for sound, which when you have engines roaring, there's tons of sound effects. Yeah, I get it. And then the other one is for film editing, which, as you said, it's 2.5 hours long. And even in the racing scenes that are kind of exciting, it's edited in such a way that you don't understand the geography of the racetrack. It's just, hey, let's cut to somebody passing someone or not passing someone. You know, eh, I'm not the biggest race enthusiast in the world. I used to be into NASCAR when I was a teenager, um, partly because I saw Days of Thunder, and this is Days of to me this is Days of Thunder meets Cars 3 because you have that whole oh, I'm so going to retire and get and totally make sure that my apprentice can, win everything. But yeah, it is just so poorly written, and the dialogue and the pacing of the film, the plot is just asinine. It really is. Like it's like, yes, we can joke that this is a feature-length commercial, but this is so much more than that in the sense that Formula One, like whatever interest there might be in it, it comes from two basic areas. One, the celebrity culture surrounding the drivers, and the intricacies of the science and engineering to get that extra 100th of a second. All of that is thrown out the window here because Brad Pitt is just so confident that he's right about everything. And of course, because he's the hero of the movie, has to make him right. It's To me, that is insulting to all of the people, scientists and engineers who dedicate their lives to this, to the point where the only measuring that's going on is with private parts. Okay, it's like this was written by the guy who wrote a bunch of the Transformers sequels and The Ring and the American version of Ghost in the Shell that got lambasted by critics. But there were other writers who contributed additional story material, and one of them was Aaron Sorkin. Um, and all I could think was like, well, here we have Carrie Condon as the first chief engineer for an F1 team ever, so of course Brad Pitt has to mansplain everything to her, and she ends up sleeping with him. Like, yeah, Aaron Sorkin wrote those scenes. It's like, again, it's like the portrayal and the dismissal of the actual intellectualism of engineers and of women, that which is part of the appeal of F1, like figuring out how you get that extra centimeter, how you get that extra 100th of a % of a kilometer per hour to go from 10th place to first. All those intricacies are lost in the gloom of I'm Brad Pitt, I'm smarter than you, I race with spirit. And even then it's like all these there's been plenty of other films like that, like I said, Days of Thunder, what was it, Ford versus Ferrari. There are tons of these movies, but in all the other ones you understand what the motivation is. Cole Trickle wants to be famous. Christian Bale's character wants to redeem himself and get a shot at the 24 hours of Le Mans. When everybody had written him off. Even in the Adam Driver Ferrari movie, he wants to basically save his family name and save his company. This movie makes a plot point out of Brad Pitt never telling you his motivation. He just goes from race team to race team. And when he's asked, like, if it's not about the money, then what is it? He just smirks at the screen and we cut to the next scene. It's like we're meant to infer that it's the thrill of the race, but it's like that's not enough. It doesn't differentiate. And yeah, like there are some good elements. I'm not going to say this is badly made, but it is bad. Like I sat there wondering, like, how does this have an 82% on Rotten Tomatoes? But then I remembered that Amelia Perez had an 80, and look how horrible that turned out to be. It came from critiques of people who don't know. Like if you actually compare the critics' response to like the response from racing insiders, including people who made cameos in the film, they say don't see it. They say it's entertaining nonsense at best. So it's like so if you're gonna make a movie like this and involve the real people, maybe listen to them when they say that you're just doing bollocks. It's like everything that Brad Pitt does in this movie would get people killed. But because he's just so sure of himself, he can exploit rule loopholes that somehow no one has ever attempted before. And he's smarter than this kid because he's older. And of course the kid can only come around when he realizes that his savior was white. I mean, right all the time. This is cliche after cliche. The only sports movie trope that's not used is the older mentor dying, because that would mean we had to kill Brad Pitt, and we're not going to kill Brad Pitt. So it's like I watched this, my jaw was dropped. Like, how is this bad? But I never fault anybody for their taste. Like I can see where people are entertained by this. It does tickle the lizard brain a little bit, you know. But when it comes time to saying like, yeah, what are the best movies of the year, even what are the best made movies, this is nowhere close.
I mean, oh, all right. I didn't feel as strongly about it as you did. And I thought it was pretty good. I just kind of, gritted my teeth through a lot of the drama parts. But it's really a question of like, does the action make up for it? And I thought it was fine. I didn't hate it.
To
You
to to
you you hated it. I can
to
see,
me
but
to me, the most impressive thing of the entire film is that it's a PG-13 movie they got two F-bombs through. Three, three if you count the texted middle finger emoji through the iPhones at the end. Most PG-13s, you only get one. They got two and a half. Good for you guys.
well,
300 million well spent.
we can't forget the iPhones, man. All right, we're gonna move on because I want to talk about some more of these films. Another film I actually really like this one. I unfortunately I saw it on Netflix. I didn't get a chance to go to the theater to see it, but it's Frankenstein, directed by Guillermo Del Toro, and it's a story of Frankenstein, and it's a movie that he's been wanting to make since he was in utero, I think. And very impressive performances. Jacob Elordi is nominated. I thought, to me, I I like the movie. I liked a lot of. Okay, I liked a lot of the visual elements of it. Like, I love the design of it. I love the costumes. I thought the creature design was tremendous. I thought the everything was very strong in it. The acting, the VFX. Guillermo del Toro's old school, so he likes to use things like miniatures, and I think that stuff all looks really great. Some of like the VFX, like there's some VFX like CGI wolves that looked a little wonky, but that's about it. Everything on the ship looked great. Everything in the ice and all that stuff looked great. And it felt like it was the most Guillermo Del Toro movie ever made. And it's the movie that he's been making his whole career, basically. And I thought, well, this is great. And I kept counting the story beats. How's he going to do this part of the story? How's he going to do that part of the story? How's he going to cover this? And there were things that he did that I haven't seen before because there were certain elements of the story that he blew up, like the brother character, for instance. The last time you see him in the novel, I think he's like 10, and then you never see him again. But in this, he plays a major part. Mia Goth's character it was a bigger part, and but like I felt like it was very, to me, akin to the Kenneth Branagh Frankenstein with Robert De Niro, which I think everybody kind of forgot about. That is a big melodrama, like over the top, like there's over the top, and then whatever the hell that movie is. And then this, I just thought like, wow, this looks amazing, and it's Guillermo del Toro at the top of his game. I actually don't know what he's gonna do next because I feel like he kind of summited the mountain. But my only problem was because I was so saw in all of the movie and counting the story beats, I never got involved with the characters. And that kind of took me out of it a little bit. And it's like it's a movie, it doesn't deserve that kind of commentary probably. Probably other people did get involved with the characters, but it just didn't strike me on that level. What did you think of it?
I did really enjoy it. I get worried about anything that it goes to or is co-owned by Netflix at this point because, they're trying to buy Warner Brothers. They've already kind of announced that if they get it, they're going to have a very limited theatrical window for every WB film that comes out before it goes to Netflix. And what was it? Matt Damon was on Joe Rogan's podcast last week, basically saying, it's like, yeah, they put it in their contracts that you have to front load the action scenes and you have to reiterate the plot verbally in the dialogue like 3 to 4 times because there's people on their phones not paying attention, which if you're making it solely for Netflix, I get, but if you're in a theater, if you're the one of the ones going to the theater to watch this in what will now be eventually a glorified Academy eligibility run, it's gonna just grate on you to hear the same points reiterated several times. But so that's my concern about the Netflix corporate model, not this movie specifically. As far as the movie, my only kind of like eyebrow raising complaints were things like, Mia Goth's character. Yeah, like I love her to death. She's a great actress, but they gave Elizabeth far too big of a role in this compared to the book, and it wasn't one that she was prepared to play. I think they just basically said, "Well, her name's Goth. Let's put her in this gothic horror." Um, and some of the costuming was very silly. Like they give her these like weird feather things around her head that makes her look like a discount Amidala. Uh, you know, and then of course Jacob Elordi's like he gives a great performance. The fact that he's nominated for supporting actor, and I think he even won the Golden Globe. Like that's some outside the box thinking as far as awards voters are generally meant to be. Um, but at the same time, after The Shape of Water, did we have to focus on how hot he is all the time? Like I don't care about bangable monsters, It's like, there's a whole section of anime if you're into that sort of thing. But putting that aside, and Oscar Isaac, I love him, but he went way over the top and was like very hammy, very scenery chewing, and there's so much good scenery. Don't eat it, you know. The production design is on point. That was also nominated. I love the animatronics of like that first model in his little kangaroo court defense. Well, like that was just so cool. Like that to me is pure distilled Del Toro. Like that kind of just creatively grotesque thing. I absolutely love that. Um, there are some weird tonal issues as far as like oh, the creature can lift a boat somehow. I was like, he is still just a man. I was like that. Yes, he's stronger than the average man, but not lift a 20-ton boat strong. But what really did strike me is that similar to the Branagh film, there was an emphasis on the humanity of the creature. Um, and the classic Frankenstein Universal horror movie with the fire bad, like that was a movie studio creating a movie monster that just happened to have Frankenstein framing around it. The big legacy flaw in it is that it deviates so far from the source material that you only get a couple of hints of the sophistication and the overall gentleness of the character. This film nails it. Like the sequence where he's living in the barn and talking to David Bradley as the blind man, like that was, I think, one of if not the best depictions of the character of the creature ever put to film. Like that was amazing. And David Bradley, of course, he's a tremendous character actor. Most people know him as Walder Frey from Game of Thrones, or as Filch in the Harry Potter movies. But he's done so much more work over the course of his life. So this was a really good showcase for him to show the world just how talented he really is, and he and Elordi play off each other so well. It really delivers the pathos of that moment. Like that's the core of gothic horror as an emotional art form. Like I was like just, I mean, I'm watching it on Netflix, but I'm just leaning forward every single second, like, oh my, put more of it in my eyeballs, please. This is beautiful. So yeah, it's not. I probably personally wouldn't have nominated her for Best Picture, but I definitely understand why it was, and I think it's certainly worthy of consideration, especially in the artistic categories. And yeah, Jacob Elordi getting uh, a supporting actor nomination where he honestly has a chance of winning. It's like that's some really strong stuff here. Um, is it Del Toro's best work? Yeah, maybe. I still hold a candle for Pan's Labyrinth, but I can't. I really can't argue against anybody saying like this, like you said, that like this is Del Toro at his most Del Toro. Like This is, the refined version of him that fires on every cylinder. I can't argue against that. I don't necessarily see it every time, but I get where anybody would.
Yeah, I feel like this is a filmmaker at the height of his powers, doing the thing he wants to do the most, and that's really cool. All right, I'm going to move on to some films I haven't seen yet, so I didn't get a chance to review them, but I know you have. The next one we got is people are calling this one a front runner, Hamnet. This is Chloe Zhao's film, and it's about Hamlet and his wife grappling with the grief of losing their son in 16th century England. It's got 8 nominations, and from what I've seen, how people feel about this, like I talked to somebody this weekend who was like, "I've seen this film 3 times. I want to see it again." So, what were your impressions of Hamnet?
I was cautious at first. So as a bit of context, every month, or at least when I can, I do a column on my blog called "This Film Is Not Yet Watchable," where I basically just make fun of trailers for bad movies that are coming out that month. And I almost included Hamnet on there for last November because when I saw the trailer, the way it was presented is like it's like, oh, look at the epic romance that inspired one of Shakespeare's greatest works. Like, so it's Shakespeare in Love again? No, thank you. Not that that's a bad movie, but it definitely didn't deserve to win Best Picture, and it's definitely become more of a meme in recent years than it has been a beloved classic. But at the same time, Chloe Zhao is a tremendous director. For the sake of that argument, we'll pretend Eternals doesn't exist. um, but she's really good at capturing emotion and really getting the best out of her actors to convey the tone of any given scene. So it's like, okay, I'll give this a chance, and thankfully, it is much better than Shakespeare in Love. It's like, so this is based on a book by Maggie O'Farrell. She co-wrote the screenplay with Zhao as well, where it kind of imagines a scenario about Shakespeare's wife, Anne Hathaway. She's called Agnes here because there are some historical records that refer to her as such. Um, but it focuses much more on her than on Shakespeare. In fact, Paul Mescal plays William Shakespeare, and pointedly, he's not named as a character until the final scenes. Like Chloe Zhao has that kind of respect for her audience's intelligence to just kind of understand who this guy is. Like we don't need to just say like, oh, there's Bill Shakespeare. Like we don't need to worry about that. Um, it's much more important to introduce Agnes and whoever as a character than it is to go into Shakespeare's backstory because there's not much known about Anne Hathaway other than just the basic historical records of their marriage and her death and her children and that sort of thing. It was the 1600s. We didn't, spoiler alert, we didn't have the internet back then. so so Maggie O'Farrell's book is kind of like a reimagining of what it was like for her as a mother to lose her child, um, and then how Shakespeare potentially used his grief to process it through his art in creating the play Hamlet. The film even opens with text saying like back in early 17th century England, Hamnet and Hamlet were essentially interchangeable names. So there's a little bit of ambiguity there where you're kind of meant to infer that oh then Hamlet's totally based on Hamnet, but it really is just a statement of fact. People just wrote the ends as L's sometimes. Like it's not it's very sterile as far as an actual historical fact. So that's the big thing to remember going in because it's presented as if this is all historical fact and it's not. It's based on a fictional book. It's a fantasy. It's a very good one, but it's never really there's nothing in the film that says, hey, this is what might have happened, or wouldn't it be cool if this is what happened? And wouldn't this, get some tears out of you? So you could argue there's a little bit of dishonesty there, but for the most part, it didn't bother me. Uh, Jessie Buckley plays Agnes, and she is tremendous. She's the front runner for Best Actress right now. Um, I've been a fan of hers for the last 5 years. I think I think one of the first reviews I did here on the show was for I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which was her and Jesse Plemons on 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 Netflix during the pandemic, a Charlie Kaufman film, and I was that was the first time I had seen her, and I was blown away, and I've been a fierce advocate for her ever since. So if she wins an Oscar, I'll definitely be happy for that. But yeah, like there's a lot of really cool elements as far as the cinematography and the staging and production design. Like obviously Shakespeare had the Globe Theater. It's almost a theater in the round. It's a very small, tight, intimate space that they recreate towards the end. But there's so many scenes in their Stratford homestead and the forest around it that also look like they could be sets in a Shakespeare play. Like that's some really fantastic design there. And the film kind of plays out like a Shakespearean tragedy. You know they they had a daughter named Susanna first. There's some speculation about did they get married because she got pregnant kind of thing. And there's some melodrama with Shakespeare's mother, played by Emily Watson, and Agnes's brother, played by Joe Alwyn. Very solid supporting roles there. But then after that, she gets pregnant again, and she has twins. The titular Hamnet and excuse me, his sister, I believe her name is Juliet, which again appropriate. Um, but there's a whole subplot. Oh, sorry, her name's Judith. My mistake. Um, there's this whole subplot where again Maggie O'Farrell imagines that Agnes is very much a druid, like very natural and earthy and maybe there's rumors that she's the daughter of a forest witch, and she engages in all these type of activities, like she like her, they there's a whole big point that she has a falcon as a pet, and she has her first child in the woods in this chosen glen, and she reads people's palms and has these mystic predictions about things, and one of them is that she will have two people standing over her on her deathbed. Well, when she's having twins, like, well, that means there could be three. She has three kids, and that scares the crap out of her because like I was only supposed to have two children. Like, why is there a third? This is because you didn't let me give birth in the woods or something like that. And Judith is initially feared to be stillborn. She's revived, but she spends her childhood being kind of weak and kind of sickly. Whereas Hamnet, is this vibrant young boy, and he's super protective of his twin sister and all this stuff. And then the plague hits, and it's like, oh, Judith is not going to survive. So, but it's Hamnet who essentially offers himself up, in exchange. Again, very very Shakespeare tragedy drama there, and so he's the one who dies. None of this is spoiler information, just in case anybody's concerned. Like this is all front loaded information from the trailers and press releases and everything like that. And then it's about how they cope as individuals with that grief. Um, you know, Will goes off to London and has his theater work, and he eventually writes Hamlet, but Agnes is basically left alone in a house that just feels like a tomb to her. So that, and with Will gone, she's like, where is my support system? Where is my loving husband? Where is the family that I was supposed to have because I have lost my son? And and then it's eventually the oh no he filtered his pain through to Hamlet. And one of the coolest things about this film to me, and this is one of the things I'm considering, because we have this new category for casting at the Oscars, brand new category this year. One of the most inspired casting choices I've ever seen. Hamnet is played by Jacoby Jupe, who's he's a young child actor. He's only had a couple of roles, but this is his biggest thing so far. But he's part of an acting family. His brother Noah Jupe is in the Quiet Place movies and Honey Boy. He came up as a child actor himself. In the first presentation of Hamlet as a play, Noah Jupe is playing the title role. So we're essentially like the idea is Hamlet is a tragic fantasy of what would have happened if my son had grown up. So you cast the two brothers to be different versions of the same character. That is brilliant. It's so subtle but so well done. And the whole cast gives solid performance. Like especially Jacoby. He has to shoulder a lot of emotional burden in this film, and he acts the hell out of it, well beyond what what someone his age should be capable of doing. Like this is not here's a cute kid having hijinks. This is the emotional dead center of the film until he's literally dead. So and he just plays it completely straight, completely naturally as any like if you were in their shoes and you saw your kid going through like you would imagine this is how he would react to things. He would want to, take after his father. He would want to, learn to playfully sword fight. He'd be so fiercely protective of his sister. It it just rips your heart out because he's just so naturally good at it, and he's only like 11 years old. This is insane. But he's also spent his entire life learning from his brother. So it feels so right. I don't know what the criteria are, or I should say the nominating criteria were for the casting directors branch when they nominated. I don't know if they were thinking like, oh, maybe a diverse cast, or maybe just the best actors we got, or maybe something creative. If it's for like creative casting, holy crap, this should be the front runner.
It's interesting because like Shakespeare in Love, it was like Saving Private Shakespeare. There was like a whole thing. There was a bunch. It was like that year in particular. Again, there was a Weinstein thing, um, but it was really interesting. I mean, what we all know what Will Shakespeare was doing. He was falling in love with Gwyneth Paltrow
Yeah,
when he was away. That's
totally. And palling around with Ben Affleck.
exactly. That's In fact, that movie was just on today. It was just on. It was
It-
just on the
it- it's
television
it's
today.
it's not a bad movie. It's probably one of the better rom-coms I've ever seen. But Best Picture, especially against Saving Private Ryan, good God, no.
All right, so I'm going to move on to the next one. And we're approaching the 45-minute mark here. And I don't want to go too long with these, but this next one, Marty Supreme, which apparently I believe it's based on a real guy, Marty Mauser, a young man with a dream. And basically, he's in the pursuit of greatness as a table tennis champion, a la Forrest Gump, I guess. Um, and it's Timothée Chalamet, who I do think is a good actor. I really liked him in Dune. I thought he was magnificent in that film and just kind of surprised the hell out of me. But give us a bit about Marty Supreme.
Yeah, so Timothy Chalamet, any discussion of the film has to center on him. Um, he is essentially the front runner for Best Actor right now. He's won the Critics' Choice, he's won the Golden Globe, or say the comedy version of the Golden Globe because I think Wagner Moura got the drama version, but whatever. He's the front runner, and it always struck me as kind of odd because just a year ago, when he was nominated for A Complete Unknown, the joke was that he was never going to win. They even had him host SNL and do a bit where it's like, oh, it's my fantasy. Let me just sit in the audience and hear someone read an envelope where I win. and the joke was that they open the envelope and Keenan Thompson wins. It's like even in a scenario that he sets up, he still loses, but now he's probably going to win. And the reason he's going to win is that he's playing against type. You know, Timothée Chalamet is at his best when he's, you know, a leading man, a little bit roguish at times, but never a bad guy. He is the villain here. Like Marty Mauser is a loser and a user, to quote Green Day. Uh, Josh Safdie directs and wrote the film. Half of the famous Safdie brothers. They did Uncut Gems and so many other great films. And Chalamet as Marty Mauser is kind of like Adam Sandler's character from Uncut Gems in that, you know, he keeps gambling on himself and losing, but he still thinks because he's smarter than the room, he's entitled to everything. So like, and really, the film is just one scenario after another where he tries to hustle somebody out of money and attention and privilege so that he can, you know, go play ping pong tournaments and be the best in the world. Um, he is a straight up cad here. He really is like every opportunity he is given to do the right thing or even do the sensible thing, even if it's not something that is right, wrong, or indifferent, he chooses whatever the most self-serving option is. You know, speaking of Gwyneth Paltrow from earlier, like he begins an affair with an aging actress played by Gwyneth Paltrow. She's kind of based on you know, the classical actresses of the day, you know, Rita Hayworth and whatnot, because this is set in the 40s. And at one point, you know, he needs money to fly to Japan for this ping pong tournament. He steals a necklace from her that he later finds out is just worthless costume jewelry, so he can't even pawn it. Goes back to her to confess his wrongdoing, and she's like, "You're so just full of crap, but I'll give you one of my necklaces anyway. Go do your thing." And then they have a tryst in Central Park, get caught by a cop. Paltrow gives the cop the necklace as a bribe, and then when they've just barely avoided arrest and scandal and tabloids, Marty's like, "Can I have another necklace?" I was like, "Are you kidding?" Like he is just that delusional and removed from any sense of decency. I mean, the film opens with him impregnating a friend of his. You know, she's cheating on her abusive husband. They have an affair. She gets pregnant, complete with "look who's talking" scene of the sperm traveling to the egg for whatever reason, and uh, he spends the rest of the movie trying to shirk responsibility for that, like saying, "Oh, there's no way it's my kid," you know, because it's the 40s and we don't have DNA testing yet, you know. So like everything he does, he tries to just be the most selfish prick you could imagine. I mean, you know, but you know, pardon my French, but he really is, and it's a good performance certainly, and this is why again he's the front runner. It's like I wouldn't vote for him for Best Actor here because I think Best Actor is just so truly stacked this year. It's a murderer's row, um, but he's the favorite because this is not the character he has ever played. Like this is the closest he's been to being an out and out evil character. So it's like so he has a lot of fun with that. As far as the rest of the film, you know, we have all these, you know, intense ping pong sections, which you don't think would be. You'd think that it's a contradiction in terms, but Josh Safdie does film them as if they're epic displays of athleticism. The only problem is that all the tables have like a single like bar lamp light over it, and the rest of the room is dark. Like you can't see what you're doing. It's like it's like you can't play ping pong in a dark room because like, but it's meant to have that like sports biopic epicness to it. It just doesn't really fit with a sport like table tennis, especially just from a practical standpoint. But and this is another one where it's nominated for casting, and you kind of wonder like, are they thinking in terms of just creative or stunt casting? Because a lot of the actors in this film are not actually actors. I mean, yes, you've got Chalamet, you've got Gwyneth Paltrow, you've got Pamela Adlin's daughter as his friend Rachel. Like this. This is there's some talent at the top certainly, but then you also have Tyler the Creator, the rapper, as his best friend. You have directors and filmmakers, playing extended cameos. Gwyneth Paltrow's husband in the film is played by Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank. He has never acted before. This is his first role. And of course, he's playing a rapacious businessman. So I was like, and I think he's there because Safdie wants to make sure that we can root for Marty in certain situations. So there has to be someone even more unlikable on screen next to him in those situations. Because yeah, like I understand that he's playing a character a little bit on the show when he's crushing people's dreams and trying to get as much ownership from the actual good people as possible, so that he makes all the decisions in their business and their idea. If you ever watch more than 2 episodes, he'll demand ownership of the patent for every invention that he likes. Like he is snaky as a businessman, and by extension, the audience thinks he's that way as a human being. So you see him in the film opposite our normally likable Timothee Chalamet. It's like, oh, so no, Marty can't be the villain. This guy's got to be the villain. But it's like, no, they're both villains. Just one's the protagonist and the other's the antagonist. There's a difference there. This is a good movie. I won't say it's not. I believe it's overrated though. Like I want to say it has something like, again, 9 nominations, and I think maybe it should have like 2. Like Chalamet for Best Actor, certainly I can see that. I think the cinematography is pretty strong as well. Again, some of the lighting that goes with that cinematography not as great, but the actual way they coordinate and choreograph all these ping pong scenes, using actual players in the cast, using consultants, very limited CGI. Like you can actually see the exact moment where a real ball gets keyed out of the shot and a CGI ball comes in. If you look for it, you can see the exact frame where that transition happens. Just because they couldn't get that angle. So those sort of moves are very strong. And again, that's Josh Safdie, working with his brother for so long. They know what they're doing. And just like with Uncut Gems, like trying to find like the American dream in a deadbeat gambler, now they're finding one in a really usurious ping pong player who, again, is talented. They never question his abilities. And when we see him play, you see he has the skill. It's just that the character he basically thinks, because I have this skill, the world is owed to me. And for me, that tested the limits of my tolerance a couple of times. Not bad by any stretch of the imagination, but again, not if we were to cut back down to 5 nominees, this is an easy cut for me. That sort of thing.
Interesting. What I found interesting this year is that the Safdie brothers split, and the other Safdie brother did Smashing Machine,
Hmm.
which also looks like total Oscar bait.
Yeah.
For in this case, The Rock,
It got
Dwayne
it got
Johnson,
nominated for makeup.
and Emily Blunt is in that picture. But again, it's a sports movie. You have a central character who's very strong, and it's a true story. So it's interesting that they split and that this movie got all of the attention. It seems this feels like Marty got all the love and Smashing Machine didn't really get any.
Again, I think it's because one, Chalamet is just playing so far against type. Like the Rock, I haven't seen the Smashing Machine yet. I will because it's nominated. But from all the trailers and everything I saw, it's like it's The Rock playing a version of The Rock who doesn't look like The Rock. Like he's still the hero. He's still the, you know, big muscular guy that you love to see, beat the crap out of other people. Whereas Chalamet is this, scrawny, lanky kid who should not be near as confident and cocky given his actual lot in life. But also, I think because the Smashing Machine is much more directly based on a real person, whereas Marty Mauser, the character, is very loosely based on a real table tennis player. I think his name was Marty Reiner, who died. I want to say in the 80s or something. So a lot of liberty is taken from there. It's he's more of a framing device for Josh Safdie to just kind of go insane and do something much more stylized. I think that's what kind of put it over the edge.
Okay. Um, I'm interested. I'll see it. I'll definitely. I
It,
know that the Smashing Machine is. I think it's streaming on HBO Max right now,
I believe so.
so
Yeah. So
you can catch it there.
yeah.
Um,
I'll give it a go again. It's nominated for the makeup job, and I could even tell from the trailers like this is going to get a makeup nomination guaranteed. It's like
um, all right. So I want to move on. Now this is another foreign film that's nominated. One that we didn't cover earlier this year. Sentimental Value.
yep.
And this is with Stellan Skarsgård, intimate exploration of a family, and it's really like this is a drama, like
Yeah.
this is like a drama about people, um, and I don't know what it's going to get in terms of awards, because Skarsgård I think is nominated,
Hmm.
and he's like a legacy guy, like he's been around for a really long time, and I don't think he's ever been nominated for. I feel like, and it's Renata Renzi, I think is how you say her name. Um,
I believe it's Renata Reinsve. That's at least what I've always said. If I'm wrong, please correct me. Uh,
she was in
but
another movie that I saw. I think it was out a couple of years ago, but it was the one with Sebastian Stan, uh,
yeah, a different man last
a
year. Yeah.
different man.
Yep.
And I don't know. I mean, I wasn't all that crazy about her, but people seem to really think she's a terrific actress. Tell us about the movie.
I am one of those people. So she's basically come out with three Oscar-worthy performances in the last like 5 years. The first one was a previous film from Norway. Sentimental Value is Norway's submission for international feature and was nominated. And it is one of two foreign films nominated for Best Picture this year. Um, I was thinking that we might even have three this time around, but no other choice got kind of left off. Um, but yeah, she broke through to Western audiences a few years ago with a movie called The Worst Person in the World, about a woman who basically can never get her romantic life in order, but not in a silly rom-com way, in an I'm a damaged person kind of way. Why can't I, get my S together, And I was just stunned by how well she did in that film. And then she does A Different Man last year, where I think that was her first English language film, um, and a supporting role, but she's the key to the dark comedy of it because of how she almost fetishizes this skin condition that Sebastian Stan's character has, and the other lead, it's almost weird how kinky she is about it. Like she plays sexually liberated characters. And then this one, of course, this is her third major film. She's nominated for Best Actress here. The entire main cast is nominated in this film. Like Stellan Skarsgård, I think he won the Critics' Choice Award for Supporting Actor. Renata Reinsve is up for Best Actress finally. Like the rest of the world is finally waking up to how great she is of an actress. I think she's easily one of the five best actresses of her generation. And then for supporting actress, you have Inga Ibsdottir Lilias, who plays Reinsve's sister in the film, and Elle Fanning, uh, the American connection to all this. So this is literally a film about generational trauma, about processing, very complicated feelings and recognizing the humanity in people even when they make mistakes. So Skarsgård basically he plays a famous director. Like I kind of compare him to um, a Werner Herzog type. Like he does documentaries, he does the occasional narrative fiction. He has all these great ideas, but he can never get funding for them, everything like that. And he had a traumatic childhood in this, house where he watched. He came home from school one day and find his mother, hanging from the ceiling fan. Like very heavy stuff. And then he grows up, he begins his career, he gets married to a woman who turns out to also be mentally unstable to a degree. He leaves her because he just doesn't want to deal with her stuff. Leaves her with the two kids who he involved in his films, even gave them acting roles in his films. And then when his ex-wife dies, he comes back. These two now adult daughters are trying to kind of pick up the pieces and rebuild their lives, figure out what they're going to do with the house. Uh, and then here's dad again. And he's got another film he wants to make. And he wants his daughter Nora, Renata Reinsve, to star in the film. He says quite plainly, he wrote the role for her. Like, she is the only one in his mind who can play this part, including scenes where, they recreate that suicide. It is some very, very heavy stuff. And she refuses, not because she thinks it's in bad taste or anything, but it's because you left my life for 20 years and now you came back and you just expect me to be a part of this. I'm not going to be a puppet for your comeback kind of thing. There's so much deep-seated trauma and anger that needs to be processed. I mean, Nora is a successful stage actress in this film because she's tried to be a performer but also distance herself from her father, from Gustav. But she also has panic attacks before she goes on stage every single show. And like one of the opening scenes is that she has to basically be wrestled back into her costume 5 seconds before the curtain lifts, so she can go out there and give a performance that everybody loves. And then you contrast that with her sister Agnes, who has found a way to live a normal life. She's able to bridge the gap. She's been the net in so many arguments between family members, but she has her own husband and son now, and she only gets defensive about the idea of now her son being used in one of these movies. It's like she wants to live a life independent of her father, but still, maintain the lines of communication. There's so much complexity to all this. And then we have Elle Fanning as an American actress named Rachel, who is, up and coming, a popular ingenue. She has a whole team of like social media people. So Gustav's like, okay, well, if my daughter won't be in the film, let me get this charming American actress. Maybe that at least give me some funding. And he starts forming a rapport with her, filling in the gaps that he missed with his own daughters. And Elle Fanning, again, very nuanced performance because she's so eager to work with a story director on a much more serious project than she normally does. Like think of her like a Kate Hudson type. Did all started out doing rom-coms and very terrible B movies and stuff like that, but wants to be taken seriously. So like this is the challenge for her, but she's smart enough to also recognize what's going on. She realized that she's an American cipher, much like the idea of having an American actress in a Norwegian film. It's like there's a meta resonance to that, and it gives Elle Fanning a lot of opportunities to really like flex her muscles because she grew up with her sister Dakota, doing kids films and everything, and then she did the Maleficent movies, which were awful. But then last year she did a Complete Unknown with Timothee Chalamet, had a good supporting turn, and people were like, okay, well maybe there's something to her. And now she's really showing like, yeah, you're a genuine skilled actress here. And it's ironic that your opportunity to show that is in a situation where you're basically trying to prove that you're not that while also trying not to be a pawn in someone else's emotional game, while still while still understanding the humanity behind it. Like she doesn't lash out at anybody. She doesn't say, "Oh, you're just using me for this." It's like she's much more frank and says like, maybe I'm not right for this role. I really, you have this dialect coach. I really can't speak, convincingly with a Norwegian accent. It's like I think you have some unresolved issues, and it breaks my heart that you're dealing with this, and I want to help, but this I'm probably not the person to do that. Like And then you go back to Nora's like, how do we get through this? How do we bridge those gaps that, rebuild those bridges that have been burned for 30 years? There's so much emotional honesty in this that I know all these actors are capable of, I mean, except for Inga Lilias, because I had never seen her before. But even from The Worst Person in the World, as soon as I found out that Renata Reinsve was in this, like, yeah, you honestly could not get a more perfect person for this role. Like, the director Joachim Trier, they work together on Worst Person in the World. Like, he knows her as a performer and knows what she's capable of, and he pushes her to her limits every time, and it turns into like the good kind of melodrama, like the magical kind of melodrama. Um, Again, this is a foreign film up for Best Picture. That's not a novel thing anymore. When you have all four of your lead actors nominated, Best Actor, Best Actress, and two supporting actresses, and you have 9 nominations overall, that says something. And it's it's nothing short of amazing because this is just pure human drama and emotional nakedness that you don't see often in American films. Like European films tackle this kind of stuff often to the point where, if it's a French film, it's almost a cliche. But to find a way to basically make this appeal to American audiences, to Hollywood audiences, like, this is the rare foreign film that got a wide general release in the US. Like, you don't have to go to art houses to see this. It's in your local multiplex. It'll be I want to say it's going to one of the major streamers if it hasn't already. Like, this is an accessible film meant for wide audiences, and doesn't matter if you speak English or Norwegian. Like, they understand what needs to be done to make this resonate, and they do it at every turn. I was very impressed.
It sounds like a lot,
It
this
it it
movie.
it, it, it is. It's gonna wreck you emotionally in places, you know. But it's a cathartic type of emotional wreck. That's the key here. Like, this is not histrionics for its own sake. This is holding up a mirror to a lot of the conflicts and hurt that a lot of people in the late 20th and early 21st centuries have experienced as times have changed, as generational behaviors have changed, as we've come to terms more with, our upbringings and what they might have meant for the developments of our own psyches. As we learn more and more about how all this stuff works and process it, that's where this film really just hits you right in the gut every time, but it does it in the best way.
All right, all right. I'm going to move on. So there's one other film that I want to talk that we're going to talk about that we didn't cover before that's nominated. But first, I just want to briefly mention the other nominees,
Yeah.
real quick. So we've got Begonia, which we recently reviewed with Emma Stone, directed by Yorgos Lanthimos. One Battle After Another, Leonardo DiCaprio, Paul Thomas Anderson. That is getting a ton of buzz. Secret Agent, which we saw at New York Film Festival. And Yassine actually interviewed the director of that film, so you can watch that review and that interview on the channel. And then Train Dreams, which you reviewed, that was at AFI. But those films pale in comparison to record 16 nominations for Sinners, a horror vampire movie from Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan. Twin brothers return to their hometown after being gangsters in Chicago. And then it pretty much turns into a bottle episode where they're in a barn and there's vampires outside. It's like turns up to, it's almost like kind of a George Romero joint at that point, but with music and a lot of good music. So I saw this film. I saw it on HBO. I didn't go see it in the theater, and I liked it. I liked it a lot. I thought it was really good. First of all, Delroy Lindo is in it. I just love seeing him in anything. And he's just like, I think he's terrific. And I thought Jordan was terrific. I thought the special effects were amazing. The the scene where the opening where we see the twins for the first time and they're passing a cigarette back and forth. That shot, that one shot is so convincing. From then on, you have no doubt that you feel like it's two people. And it's really, really good. And it's a good looking movie. And special effects with the twins, the VFX are tremendous. I thought that, and I'm probably in the minority here because I'm not a horror movie fan, but I thought it could have been a really good gangster picture where instead of, facing the vampires, they were facing the KKK and the people from Chicago that they ripped off. I thought that could have been an equally good movie with lots of Tommy guns and stuff, which we do get here a little bit of. But
especially at the end.
yeah, especially the end, because there's a big ending there. But overall, like I said, I liked it. I thought it was really good. I don't know if it's the best picture of the year. I don't know if it's my favorite picture of the year. There's some other movies that I think I liked more. There's definitely movies I enjoyed more. But damn, is it well done. It's really, really well done. And I don't know if did Jordan get nominated?
Michael B. Jordan. Oh yeah, he's up for best actor.
Uh,
Best actor. Okay, again, Murderers Row. We're talking Michael B. Jordan, Leonardo DiCaprio, Timothee Chalamet, Ethan Hawke for Blue Moon, and Wagner Moura for Secret Agent. Holy crap! There is not a bad choice in that entire bunch. Again, Chalamet's the front runner because he's playing against type, and he wouldn't get my vote. It would actually go to Jordan if I had one, but I can't truly argue against anyone in that field. So yeah,
It's an
Jordan,
embarrassment of riches there. It's like there's like those guys are all great and they've been great consistently. Like they've
you know,
been, I can't think of, I don't know too much of Wagner Moura's work. But DiCaprio has been just hitting it out of the park lately, and I think he's tremendous in one battle after another.
oh god, yeah, like
I think that is the part that
might honestly be his best performance
uh,
in his entire career.
Yassine said it was like he was playing the love child of the dude and Jack Burton from Big Trouble in Little China.
He's not wrong. He's
So I was
not.
like, that's pretty good. But he's tremendous. The young actress, Chase Infinity,
Yeah,
she
sadly she
sounds
was
like a
not.
bank or a car. She's but like
Sadly,
her,
she was not nominated for
she
best
was.
actor.
Well, I thought she was terrific in it.
She was absolutely.
And God, she looks like what like screen presence
Yeah,
for someone young.
especially
But
because that was her first movie role.
really,
I believe so. Like she's done some TV work, but I believe that was her first feature film role.
she's a movie star.
Yeah, she
She's a
easily.
movie star.
And
Um,
and for this film, another instant movie star on their first role, Miles Caton as Sammy. Holy crap! Like the scene where they're in the car and he first plays for Michael B. Jordan. That look that Jordan gives him when he's like that look of shock, like, oh my God, you are this good. That was the entire audience when I saw this in the theater. Just instantly like, holy mother of Jehoshaphat, you are good. So
and he also, it's funny. Michael B. Jordan, he gets, I mean, he gets the attention because he's playing the twins and everything like that. But it's really the kid's story.
yeah,
Like the kid is really the protagonist of that movie, and then later on we see him, and he's played by the immortal Buddy Guy.
It-
Um,
yeah. It's like if you didn't see this film and you're a blues fan in general, just seeing the film and seeing Buddy Guy at the end, that contextualizes Sammy's entire character, just so that you can understand how good this kid was meant to be.
I mean, when you look at Buddy Guy's got a tremendous story too. Like, he literally came from the South and was picking cotton, sharecropping, and things like that. Went up to Chicago, met Muddy Waters, like, and became a blues legend. And at first I was a little confused. I'm like, are they trying to say this kid grew up to be Buddy Guy? But then I realized that he's it's Buddy Guy playing a
Yeah,
character.
it's a cameo, but it's a cameo that on a meta level contextualizes the character.
Right. Which, I want to see that movie. I want to see that. I want to see Sammy's movie, and then I want to see the twin and Haley Steinfeld,
Yeah,
who's also kind of playing it against type
yeah.
in this picture. I thought she was tremendous as well. Um,
It's one of those weird things like when you watch an actor grow up on screen. I was like, I still remember her not Oscar nominated performance from the True Grit remake. That was her breakthrough as like I want to say she was like 12 or 14 at the time and playing an 11-year-old. And it's like she went from that. She briefly became a pop star. I mean, she still makes records, but she's not like an Ariana Grande type or anything like that. And then she's the voice of Gwen in the Spider-Verse movies, and then she comes out with this again very against type, you know, overtly romantic and sexual and bleep talking, take no prisoners type of approach, and that's before she becomes a vampire. It's like, good lord, so good. Like if again go back to the new category. I want to know what the criteria are for casting, because if we're going on the best pure ensemble cast, this film has it hands down. And you're using a mix of stars and unknowns, and your lead is playing two roles. You know, I kind of want the head-to-head battle between him and Robert Pattinson, because Mickey 17, he did the same thing, and that film sadly got entirely ignored by the Academy, but they've already given Bong Joon-ho his due, with Parasite, so it can be forgiven to an extent. But yeah, it's like top to bottom, from Michael B. Jordan to Wumi Masako to Bao to Delroy Lindo to again, Miles Caton, complete newcomer. There is not Jack O'Connell as oh my, like a lot of people are talking about Amy Madigan from Weapons as like a new like all-timer of a horror film villain, and I agree with that. But Jack O'Connell as an Irish immigrant racist Klansman type vampire who not only sucks blood but sucks up culture and music to sustain himself. God, what a layered character! Such a great baddie. I love those kind of things. Yeah, and that's things like I've heard some people say that this film is overrated, and while I vehemently disagree, I get it. But part of what I love so much about this movie is how it either subverts tropes or uses them to a better effect. Like the film opens in medias res. I hate that. Start the story where it starts. Don't start at the end or the middle and then say, oh, 24 hours earlier, 2 weeks earlier. I hate that. Coogler made it work. This kid shows up with a broken guitar and gashes on his face into a church, and his father's not trying to help him. He's begging him to repent of his sins, so that he can be helped down the road. And then, like, what kind of madness could have possibly created this? Then go back and let's watch all that madness. It's like one of the laziest tropes in writing and in cinema, and Coogler made it gold. It's like how there are so many films that have narrators that you don't need, and then you have Morgan Freeman in Shawshank. Like that's a film where the narrator is his own separate character from Red in the picture. That's what makes it work. Here, you have to front load so much stuff, so many visual cues, so many questions to ask as this moment is unfolding at the end of the story, to be like, oh dear God, what could have possibly made this happen? You've locked the audience in, you've engaged them, you've already sucked them into the plot before the plot even starts. That is masterful writing. And then we not only go back and see this stuff unfold, but we see it in a way, again, that gives the audience credit. We don't have to know what Smoke and Stack did in Chicago. We just know that as assertive, confident black men, they ran afoul of the mafia. And to the point where they thought it was safer to go back to the deep south. We don't need to know what they did. We know what the consequences imply. And that alone is great storytelling. And then, of course, you have this opening scene where, again, as you said, like when they pass the cigarette, just, like there's so much great cinematography here, especially the juke joint dance hall scene with all the spirits of music of African music and blues coming in and out, some Chinese music coming out, and seeing how that influences everything. Like that's one of the best scenes of the year, hands down. And again, all the Texas switches they had to do that basically in one take. That's great cinematography. But the more subtle moments, like passing the cigarette, to know that you're going to see a dual performance here that looks absolutely seamless, like that's a great hint. And then having them just be that, again, not cocky but confident and assertive, talking to this Klansman, saying like, it's like y'all brothers. It's like, nah, we cousins. It's like just throw it back in his face. Like, you said something stupid, so we're gonna make you look stupid and dare you to do anything about it. It's like it's all about you go back to when you go back to the actual vampire plot, the whole idea of inviting them into your house. That's the original vampire lore. Like, they can't enter unless they're invited. You know, brought to the screen best by Let the Right One In. You know, from that very first moment, you're seeing that everything that happens is on Smoke and Stack's terms. They don't engage with you unless they feel like it. They don't talk to you unless you are given their tacit permission to talk back to them. In an era of the Jim Crow South, in that deep of an area of the Jim Crow South, where they could just shoot you for having dark skin. That is ballsy. Not just, again, from a cocky character standpoint, like, it's ballsy as cinema, as storytelling, as a directorial approach to set up the themes of what we're going to see. We're still talking about the first 5 minutes here before we get into the whole, how do we bring the juke joint together? How do we have this survival horror with all these characters that we know are mostly going to be cannon fodder, but we still care about them? You want to talk about Delroy Lindo? Good Lord. He wrings so much pathos out of that character. Like a few years ago, I was amazed that he wasn't nominated for Defy Bloods for that just incredibly bonkers character he played then. But it's the same thing. It's like, he is a character who is doomed from the moment you see him. It's like, this is not a spoiler. He is marked for death the instant he is introduced on screen. But he makes sure that you give a damn about him every step of the way until it happens. And then of course, there's the music itself. Good Lord. Miles Caton's voice, I Lied to You, the juke joint scene, the Jack O'Connell and the Klansmen doing the Irish folk. Like, there were what was God, Goranson, Little Goranson. He's going to win his third Oscar for original score because he just has this incredibly fused orchestral arrangement that brings in the blues, brings in Afrofuturism, brings in Irish folk. It really is about showing music as a communal experience, and then the spin on it is, what if that communal experience has to be stolen in order for it to happen? Like, Coogler, it's the same thing. Go back to Black Panther, okay? That was, if you recall, a February release. Marvel and Disney put it out not thinking it was going to do anything. They're like, nobody's going to care about a black superhero. We're setting him up because he was in Civil War. We'll bring him in for all the Endgame stuff, but this is one we're just gonna, like, let Ryan Coogler handle it. We're gonna go ahead and do it. Do whatever you want with it. It's probably not gonna make any money, but we're willing to do something as a proof of concept, basically. And Coogler turned it into a goddamn masterpiece that in itself broke box office records and got nominated for Best Picture. The first comic book film ever to get nominated for Best Picture. That's what he's been capable of from the very beginning. And just like with Frankenstein, you said this is Del Toro at his peak. This is Coogler at his peak. Like, this is the the resolution, the realization of every ounce of potential that he has shown us for the last decade. So like it's rare when my like favorite film gets the most nominations at the Oscars. It's very rare. This is one of those times where it's like, yep, uh, like like me and the Academy, we're actually in fairly close alignment. Again, I can't guarantee that it would get my vote for Best Picture because I have to do all that grading, all that head-to-head comparison of all the elements. But this, along with One Battle After Another, because again, it's a two-horse race at the top. Both of these are potential all-timers. Everything else on the Best Picture list, whether it's something creative like Hamnet or bonkers like Begonia or aspirational like Train Dreams or something terrible like F1. Side tangent. Carrie Condon is also in Train Dreams, and she comes in the third act and has a similar tragic past to Joel Edgerton's character, and she's playing a forest ranger. You actually think for a second like in lesser hands she would turn into a third act romance. Well, F1 was the lesser hands. But back to Sinners, back to the contest as a whole. Every other film on this list, Secret Agent, Sentimental, like there's quality even in F1. There's quality to be had with everything. Even what I consider a bad film like F1 is not a total loss. But Sinners and One Battle After Another are so far ahead. Like I grade my reviews on a letter scale, the standard A to F letter scale. If I could, I would have given Sinners and One Battle After Another like multiple A pluses. Like that's how just far ahead they are. Like again, Paul Thomas, same thing. Paul Thomas Anderson at his absolute peak. Like Best Director is a legitimate contest between those two. And you can't. There's no wrong answer. I can easily see both of these films being in the pantheon, not just of the year, but of the decade and maybe even of the century when it's all said and done. Like these are potential all timers. And when I look back over Sinners, there's literally only one moment that didn't work for me, and that was that the snake looked too fake. The CGI snake looked too fake. That was it. When you can, and again, I understand you don't like horror that much. The Academy doesn't like horror that much, but as a creative outlet, horror is one of the better genres because there's no, just like with animation, there's no limit to what you can do. It's like standard drama, standard comedy, standard action. Like it's like you can exceed the expectations sometimes, but there's always a formula. There's always something that's almost rigid about it, where you kind of have to adhere to things. Sinners, everything's on the table. Nothing is set in stone apart from the whole "let them in, invite them in" trope of vampire stories. One, you start with that. You add in the racial element. You add in music as a metaphor for colonialism, for equality, for community, for theft, and for the racial struggle of Black Americans in general. And then from there on out, it's basically carte blanche. Do whatever you want. Just make sure that it's logical to the story you're telling, and make sure it looks good as hell. And Coogler did that every single step of the way. I'm out of breath.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I liked it. I don't think it was the greatest thing ever. I don't think it's like one of the greatest movies of all time. I thought it was inventive, and it did great things with some of those tropes like you talked about. I don't think that I think on one hand, it's great that a genre film is getting recognized because they never do. And there's been some tremendous performances in horror movies over the years that have, been like just like they're better than what gets nominated, but they never ever get recognized. So finally, the Academy is recognizing them, and I really don't care too much about the Academy.
Yeah,
It's not like it's I don't base anything on that, but like for this film. Like I said, I thought it was really good. I don't know if it's great or the greatest thing ever. And but of the, and of the nominations, like this year, it's hard. Like there's a lot of good stuff in there. I mean, Frankenstein got nominated. When's the last time a Frankenstein movie got nominated for Best Picture?
About to say Best Picture never, but the Branagh film I think was the last one that got any kind of major attention.
Yeah, because it
Um,
had like Robert De Niro in it, and it was,
yeah,
it was a big production. But
and yeah,
like,
and we come out with a new Dracula movie like every 3 years, basically. I do like that Sinners is not a Dracula movie; it's vampire lore rather than Dracula lore. Because like I remember back watching Van Helsing years ago, which not a good film, but has some moments. But like one of the things that left me wanting from that was they include the creature as one of the characters, and all I could think was like, and some others have said this so well as well. Like I think the Nostalgia Critic even said this. Like, wouldn't it have been awesome if they just gave him a name? Give the creature a name. This Frankenstein film hints at it as as Victor's dying, where he's like, I inherited my name from my father, and I wish I could have given it to you, my son. So there's something mournful about that the creature doesn't have a name, that because he was never treated as a person, because even his creator could not see him as a person. Like there's a tragedy in that, but it still hits that point where it's like, yeah, why doesn't the creature have a name? It's like to the point where it's like, since the Universal movie, everyone's just called him Frankenstein. You know, it, and to be clear, I'm not going to walk back my comments, but I will call it, like I said, potential all timers. I always institute a 5 year moratorium before I declare anything as an all time great, which means I'm still one more year before I can consider everything everywhere all at once as an all timer. But that's another one. Like I love movies that change the rules, that show the potential of what cinema can still do as an art form. Similar to Flow and Memoirs of a Snail last year in the animated category. Flow won. Memoirs of a Snail, I think, was my marginal preference of the two, but I love them both because, again, it tells new stories. It writes new rules for how we can convey narrative, how we can share experiences through the medium of cinema. A lot of the films that are nominated this year, good, bad, or otherwise, are traditional in that sense. Like, One Battle After Another is stupendous and, again, just so well made. But it's not the first movie to talk about, revolutionaries on the run and racist government people. It's far from the first to do that. Um, but it does take it in some new directions. Sinners starts from the very basic framework to say we're going to just completely rewrite the rules here. And we'll adhere to one. We only adhere to the one. You have to invite the vampires in because the action can't happen without it. But once that's done, everything else is, let's just make something that's awesome and logical and makes sense within context. And show audiences what we're capable of doing as artists. Whether we're film artists or actors or musicians or writers or even just technical artists like people who do VFX for a living or sound. Like all of that says like we're going to test the limits. In a weird way, it's a stress test for art itself. And not just Sinners, but so many other films that I love. The reason I love them is because they don't play it safe. There are a lot of ambitious films that fail. You could argue Cats was ambitious. It was. It was a spectacular failure, but I can at least sit here and say like I've never seen anything like that before. I'll probably never see anything like that again. Did I enjoy what I saw? God no, but I will always at least give you that little bit of deference. Even if the film is just god awful, I will always hold ambitious failures in higher esteem than safe mediocrities. And while none of the films, except maybe F1 on this list, are mediocre, all but two of them are safe to one degree or another. And Sinners and One Battle are not. It's like so, and Sinners I think much more so. So that to me is why it's gotten so many nominations. But again, not a morning line favorite, not an odds-on favorite. Like it's only got three more nominations than one battle. It's only got, you know, seven more than three other films, eight more than one other. It's like, yes, it's nominated in every eligible field except for Best Actress.
I think it's great that it got recognized in the first place.
Yeah.
You know, like it's tremendous that it got all these, accolades. I think some awards left it out completely.
Yeah,
Uh,
and at the Golden Globes, one battle after another got the comedy Best Picture, but Hamnet got the drama Best Picture.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, like there's a chance that from 16 nominations, like I'm fairly I'm as certain as one can be that Ludwig Göransson is going to win his third Oscar for original score. I can't I need to truly listen to all the scores in a vacuum just to be certain, but I can't see anything else overtaking it. And if it turns out that the momentum is on one battle side, then Ryan Coogler will get the original screenplay Oscar as the consolation prize. It's very possible that out of 16 nominations, it could only win two. It could also win seven or eight. So it's hard to tell. Like we've seen a lot over the last few years, especially as the Academy membership has opened up to more younger voices, more diverse voices, more minority voices. We've seen a lot more films that, like Black Panther, like Sinners, like Everything Everywhere, get nominations in various fields and maybe even get Best Picture consideration. We are seeing that more and more. Spike Lee finally won an Oscar for Black Klansman. It's like it's because we have more voices and much more membership in the Academy over the last 5 6 years to basically balance out the more traditionalists and the stuffed shirts. The question here is, does this film have 16 nominations that can translate into a proportionate number of wins to show that evolution is truly happening, or is this just a counter to hashtag Oscar so white? That's going to be the big question as we go into the ceremony, because both of the front runners for Best Picture deal with racial issues in their own way, but one has a much darker cast and one has a much lighter cast. It'll be interesting to see how the body as a whole votes, especially given that Best Picture, unlike all the other categories, is a ranked choice field. The other 23 categories are, here's five nominees, pick your favorite, whoever has the most votes wins. Best Picture with 10 nominees is ranked choice, and we keep eliminating until we have a majority. So, like when Academy voters get their ballots, they're supposed to rank all 10 films. They only have to vote for number one in order for the ballot to count, but they're supposed to rank all 10. So we could see a situation where, you know, one battle has 21% of the first place votes and Sinners has 19% of the first place votes, but F1 has zero, so it's out, and their second place votes go on and so on and so forth. Ranked choice is a very interesting system logistically as far as, determining what consensus can be. So again, it will be quite interesting to see how it plays out. And even for those who aren't Academy aficionados like myself, like I think that's something to at least raise an eyebrow and get a little bit of intrigue.
Yeah, like I said, I used to be a fan of this award show, and now I've kind of like the rest of America. I just don't care. I love movies. I don't care so much about awards, except the No Rest for the Weekend awards, which are coming up soon. They'll be here on YouTube and the other places that we stream. That's going to come up, and our coverage of Sundance Film Festival, which is coming up this week. We've already started interviewing filmmakers. Eric McClanahan has been pounding the pavement and talking to people, so we're going to get those out for you real soon. So stay tuned for that and our recaps of Sundance with the reviews of the films, which will be coming up shortly, and the No Rest for the Weekend Awards. So don't miss that. We got more stuff, more. We're going to have more and more material for our Patreon members. So you can follow us there for free at btrpmedia.com, and you can become a member for just a wee bit of money there if you want to help support the channel and keep us in Zoom payments. But anyway, I'm going to wrap up. Thanks so much for doing this, man. You are definitely the Oscar guy
Yeah,
on the
yeah, yeah.
team.
You got to try out for the Yankees with your ability to slide in like that.
But like, yeah, man, I'm really, I'm interested to do this. This is our first live stream that we've done in a long time. I wanted to do more live streams. We actually started, I was going to do them starting in 2020, and we all know what happened then. So I'm glad that,
The
we
the
could
wor
do
the worst
this.
thing in the world happened in 2020. You met me.
But like we have so I'd like to do more of these. We'll see how this goes, and hopefully we'll be able to do more we'll be able to do more live streams for you
Yeah,
where we can just kind of
please let us know how we can make these better. Yeah.
yeah. If you like them, definitely let us know. Leave a comment. And it was great that we had a chance to talk about these films because we didn't get a chance to review them. Even though we reviewed a lot of films last year, we didn't get a chance to review all the Best Picture nominees. So I'm glad we could do this. But thanks so much for doing this. For people who want to find you, read your reviews, find your stuff, where can they find you?
I mean, I've already talked your ear off so much and the audiences, but yes, I am at actuallypaid.com. I am on Twitter and YouTube at actually underscore paid. Blue Sky actuallypaid.bsky.social. And obviously, I'm here as often as I can be. I finally made a video on YouTube for the first time in 7 months yesterday. Just the Blitz category draw, but trying to get back into that groove. So I want to get back into making content as often as possible. I love doing it so much. And I'm I think I'm gonna stop talking now because I've probably worn my throat out enough. And whoever's watching this, I've probably annoyed them by now. So
Not at all, man. You know this stuff, and I'm really glad to have you as a member of the team. Hopefully, we can do some more Oscar coverage on our channel and collab across channels. And you can find Bill's stuff on btrpmedia.com. So definitely check that out. But that's it, man. I'm gonna wrap it up. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for joining us on this live stream. Like I said, we hope to bring more of them to you. For more of our content, you find the website no rest for the weekend podcast.com. Please be sure to subscribe here on YouTube. And to wrap it up, I'd like to thank my good friend Bill Hammond. And for the BTRP Media Network, I'm Jason Godbey. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.